Hey guys, this is Josh here with Trillium Wild Edibles, and today I want to bring you all an identification video on Canadian Goldenrod. Now, Canadian Goldenrod is our most common goldenrod that you're going to find in the United States. However, it is worth noting that there are dozens of species of goldenrod that you can find throughout the entirety of the United States. However, in this video, we're just simply going to be looking at Canadian goldenrod only. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Canadian goldenrod is a very common plant that you're going to find on the edges of fields, clearings, roadsides, prairie-like environments. You're not going to find the Canadian goldenrod deep in the middle of the woods. You want to get out in the clearings and the fields and the prairie-like environments to find your Canadian goldenrod. Now, this is a very common plant that a lot of people know for the most part when they see the flowers blooming from July all the way through October. Some people think this plant is what gives them hay fever, and some people are allergic to it, but the plant that actually is responsible for hay fever is giant or common ragweed. It's not your goldenrods. Now, as the name goldenrod might suggest, its flowers are yellow or golden in color, and they like to grow in a triangular panicle around the stem. And there are going to be multiple flower branches or brackets all along the stem growing up in a triangular-like fashion. If we look at this one, we can see how the flower is wider at the base and then more narrow at the top, making it look like a triangle in its growing form. Also, if we look closely at the flowering tops of goldenrod, we're going to notice all of these stems with bunches of flowers growing along them. This is what's known as a panicle of flowers. Also, another thing that we're going to notice is that the flower stems alternate all the way up the top of the plant. They probably grow on like the top 5th or 6th of the plant, but it's generally the very top of the plant where you're going to find your goldenrod flowers. So now that we've taken a look at the flowers of goldenrod, let's take a look at its leaves and the growth features of its leaves. Now, the one thing we're going to notice about goldenrod's leaves is that they grow in an alternating pattern up the stem. And we can see this alternate pattern here and then here. And if I rotate this a little bit, we can see that alternating pattern that these leaves have even more. And in each node, each leaf node, there can be a new branch that will come out. The branch coming out of the node can also support flower buds as well as the very top of the plant. So keep that in mind. Now, whenever we look at the leaves of Canadian goldenrod, we're going to notice that they're very narrow and lance-shaped. And they do have 3 prominent veins that we can see right here on the top of the leaf. Also, whenever we look at the margins of the leaves on Canadian goldenrod, we're going to notice these very fine serrations or teeth that run all along the margins. And each leaf is going to have that. The underside of the leaves of Canadian goldenrod are much lighter than the top of the leaves, as we can see here whenever we flip them over. We can also see those 3 prominent veins running down the leaf and a lot more clarity whenever we look at the leaves up close. Here's another good view of those serrations or teeth that are running along the margins of the leaves of Canadian goldenrod. At the very top of Canadian goldenrod, you're going to notice the leaves are much smaller. Then once we get towards the bottom of the plant, see how the leaves are getting larger the further down we go towards the bottom of Canadian goldenrod. Now, like I said earlier, the Canadian goldenrod is going to be growing in fields, clearings, prairie-like environments, just like we can see right here. All of these little yellow, light green flower buds that we see are goldenrod. We can see some of the ones that we were just looking at over there, growing right there. Canadian goldenrod will grow anywhere from 4 to 6 feet in height, though I usually find it at around 5 to 6 feet in height, more often than I find it at 4 feet in height. But that's something to keep in mind is how tall the plant actually grows. So I hope this video helps you guys to identify Canadian goldenrod, and I really thank you all for watching this video. If you want to learn more about wild edibles or medicinal plants, please make sure to subscribe.